Place stars John Krasinski, Emily Blunt, Millicent Simmons, and Noah Jupe or Juep. I don't know if it's French, take your pick. And I guess it technically stars like one other person. It's a small cast, it's like a cast of six. And this movie is actually directed by John Krasinski. This is not his first time directing. He did a movie called The Hollers that I don't think that was too wide of a release, but this does seem like his first really major wide release directing debut, and he also did write the script along with two other people. So pretty cool. John Krasinski, many of you know him from The Office as Jim. He also 13 Hours, which was done by Michael Bay, and this movie was also produced by Michael Bay, so they did partner up again for this movie. It's pretty cool to see him directing, writing, and acting, and of course producing in this movie. A Quiet Place is interesting because it's a fairly unique concept. Now, I know a lot of people are comparing it to 10 Cloverfield Lane or Cloverfield in general. Honestly, I don't see it. I understand that 10 Cloverfield Lane, which we actually are reviewing just tomorrow, actually. So that review will be up next Monday, so make sure to look for that. That is a really tight-knit thriller, and I guess you could say the same thing for... No, not I guess. I mean, you definitely could say the same thing for A Quiet Place, but they're still very different. I wasn't even thinking 10 Cloverfield Lane with this movie. Other people are saying Tremors. Haven't seen Tremors, but anyways, I don't believe we've seen a movie that centers around a family. They have to stay totally silent because there are these creatures that are fast and vicious and brutal, and they have a super heightened sense of hearing. And if you make even just the tiniest drop of noise, they will come at lightning speed and take you out, and it is incredibly hard to defend yourself against them because they're so fast. So that's basically the entire plot of this movie, is this family trying to survive, and they have some family dynamics going on that really cause a lot of problems for them, but also introduce a lot of situations that really shows this movie is really pro family. It shows the strengths of a family and just the beautiful bond that is formed with having a family. And before I jump into too much of the other pros of this movie when it comes to maybe some of the messages that it's talking about, I want to talk about the production of this movie. I really enjoyed the production. It's fairly simple. There's not a whole lot of different settings. It's kind of this post-apocalyptic, The Walking Dead type place once in a while, and a lot of the nature is really well utilized with those scenes. They live on this kind of small farm, but the space is really well utilized because getting from one end to the other while staying quiet is not as easy as you would think. They have to lay down sand and walk on just the sand. They have to use different game pieces. They have to speak in sign language only. The production value is fairly well done. Like the costume design, I found the score to work really well in creating some very tense scenes. And let's talk about the story. The story is fantastic. It is so intense, and it knows how to build intense just the right way. It doesn't really cut the intensity because there's never really a safe moment, and the beginning of this movie is just fantastic. It puts you on the edge of your seat. It really plays with your emotions, and it really sets up what you're in for with this movie. Now, some of the positive elements of this story are, like I said, some incredibly intense scenes. There was one scene probably about the halfway point where our jaws were dropped. I did see it with my family. They probably scared me a little more than this movie did because of how much they were jumping. But there is this just jaw-dropping scene where so many different things are going on at once, and it's like nothing can go right, and lots of chaos and intensity while still maintaining this just like thread of you gotta keep quiet as best you can, even though it's really intense. The music is really loud. The family dynamics work incredibly well in this movie because they all have their own fears and struggles, and this disaster has brought them closer together, but then at the same time, it pushes them apart because of different things that happen. And I do like this movie doesn't spoon feed you with what is going on. Where did these creatures come from? You see just news clippings, but there's not a lot of explanation. The parents don't spoon feed the kids, which I really liked, and because we don't need to be spoon fed. We just want to come into this world and go on this thrill ride and experience it with them. And it worked because in the theater there was like really not much noise, and I was thankful for that. I didn't even feel comfortable making noises because this movie is so quiet and you don't know when it's going to happen. So it was really cool creating this really quiet, intense atmosphere amongst the audience in my theater. Some of the other things I wanted to talk about with this movie is, like I said, it's very pro family, and I also felt like it was pro life because of I don't want to give anything away. I want you to go see this movie, but just go in mind that I really think they're trying to say how important family is, how important this self-sacrificing, Christ-like love is for your family members and the ones that you love, and just how like thankful we should be for what we're given and how precious life is and how it can be taken away like so quick. And this movie does a great job of ratcheting up the intensity. You kind of do get lulled into a false sense of security sometime, and then you're snapped right out of it. So I was incredibly pleased with the originality of the story and how tight it was. The script was so tight, and it's a fairly short movie at an hour and a half, so they don't waste a lot of time. This story, the action is great, the thrills are great. So let's talk about the cast. It's really cool that John Krasinski and Emily Blunt are husband and wife in the movie, but they're also husband and wife in real life. So that was really neat to see them collaborate on this project together, and you can definitely tell the chemistry between them works really well, even though there is little dialogue said. And when there is dialogue, it feels weird because everything else is so quiet. I think the boy, he did great. I loved his facial expressions. You could tell the fear. Everything felt so organic with this cast and with their interactions and with some of the situations they would go through, how they would treat each other. It really made sense, and I was very impressed. And it was cool because the girl Millicent is actually deaf in real life, so she could bring that to her performance, and you could really tell some of the frustrations were really coming out in an organic way. So overall, A Quiet Place is incredible. It is such a thrill ride, super intense. I would say my flaws with the movie, there really aren't any flaws. I think they could have done just a little better amping up the emotionality. So when certain choices are made, we would feel a little more. Maybe that's just me. I know some people in the audience, their emotions were really coming out. You could tell. So those are really my only complaints, and those are nitpicks. And I think for mostly a first-time project of John Krasinski coming in, writing and directing with not a whole lot of experience in that concerning like a feature film like this, I think he did an incredible job, and I'm extremely excited to see what he has in store for this. And I can definitely see this movie getting some possible award nominations. And I'm going to be really intrigued to see where we go from there. But overall, A Quiet Place, I'm going to give it 9 stars out of 10. This movie is superb. It is a really strong recommend. Definitely go out and see it and support this movie. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this review. Make sure to stay tuned because we've got a lot more reviews coming your way. We'll catch you next time.